Let's say we want to create a new project. Let me close our files. Creating a new project is very easy to do. We just say File, New, File, New, Java Project. Make sure you're doing Java Project. Got to give it some form of name. So for now, let's just say this is a demo. We'll just call it demo. You can give it something, whatever you want. Finish, and it created the demo project. Now right here, there's no code as part of this project yet. So what we need to do is we need to add a file that we can write code in. So I'm going to click in the SRC folder, and that stands for source, as in source code, the code that we're going to be writing. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say new class. And I'm going to call this class main with a capital M. And because this is going to be the main file in my entire program, I want to click this little checkbox down here that says public static void main, and this will give it a place to start writing running the program from. I click finish, and not only will it show up here, but it will also show up in here as well. Alright, so now this is our main area for actually writing code. When we're naming our projects, so you'll notice that right here I called it main, and that's what it showed up here as the class. When we're naming our projects, we have to be, that's what I called the class, and I called the project demo. When we're naming our projects, there's a few naming conventions that we need to keep in mind. Number one, no spaces. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Whenever you're naming anything in programming, no spaces are allowed. Your name should be descriptive of what it's doing. So if it's if you're naming a program, it might be the name of a game you're building, or it might be something a little more specific called like calculator, depending on what you're building. If there's multiple words in the name, we use something called mixed case. What that means is that in order to separate each word, we just capitalize the first letter of each word. So let's say the program was called like my first program. It would be written like this, my first program. That would be how we would spell it. No spaces, no underscores or anything like that. We use mixed case. So we have to be very conscious of this. And this just creates a standard around all of our programs. Okay. Under the JRE option, we're just going to leave that as normal. We're not going to change anything like this. We're just going to leave all this stuff as default. And our program is built. It is ready to go. We're actually ready to use it now. So, in the Package Explorer here, we have our main set up. We don't have to do anything else other than write our code, but we do need to know where we can write our code. Well, there's three areas that we're going to be writing code in our program. First area right here, this is where we create global variables. We'll get into that later, but basically a variable is a container to hold information. A global variable means this variable can be used for the entire program. Down in here, we can get rid of this little comment here. This is section 2. This is where we're going to write all of our core logic. So write core program logic here. We can also create local variables. So local variables, like a global variable, is just a container to hold information, but the difference this time is that it will actually, it can only be used within this code block, where this opening bracket and this closing bracket. So whichever set of brackets it was created in, that is the only place that it's allowed to be used. Alright, so we say it's a local variable. It's only useful for this local location. When the code executes and gets to the bottom of that, then that variable is actually deleted. The container is emptied and thrown away. Okay. As a side note, our programs always execute from top to bottom, so in order. One step, next step, next step, next step. So finally, area 3. Area 3 is so we can create support blocks of code. Later on, we're going to call these things subprograms or methods, but for now, we're just going to call them support code. Support code here. So these are the 3 sections that we are going to deal with. 1, 2, and 3. And it's going to be consistent for all your programs for the entire course. Nothing's really going to change. And not only the course, but all your Java development needs for ever and ever and ever.